Episode 1. The Truth of the Korean War and the CCP's Resist America, Aid Korea, Narrative Opening. Welcome to a journey through history. Today, we explore a conflict that reshaped East Asia and the global order, the Korean War. This war, which erupted 71 years ago, is officially described in China as resisting America and aiding Korea, and a mission to defend the homeland, imbued with the grand significance of national rejuvenation. But is the historical truth so straightforward? Let us lift the veil, tracing the war's origins, China's role, and the international maneuvering behind it to uncover the hidden facts. In this first episode, we focus on the war's outbreak and China's decision to intervene. 1. The origins of the Korean War. Kim Il-sung's ambitions and the roles of China and the Soviet Union. On June 25, 1950, a large-scale conflict erupted on the Korean peninsula. North Korean leader Kim Il-sung, backed by Soviet leader Joseph Stalin, launched a sudden invasion of South Korea, aiming to unify the peninsula by force. This war was not, as described vaguely in the Chinese Communist Party's (CCP) historical accounts, simply the outbreak of a Korean Civil War, but rather a deliberate act of aggression by North Korea against the South. According to Soviet archives declassified in the 1990s, Kim Il-sung had been proposing an invasion of South Korea to Stalin as early as 1949. Initially, Stalin rejected the idea, fearing North Korea's military weakness and the risk of escalating into a broader conflict. However, by early 1950, shifts in the international landscape, such as the U.S. withdrawal of troops from South Korea and U.S. Secretary of State Dean Acheson's speech on the Pacific Defense Line, which excluded South Korea and Taiwan from America's defense perimeter, prompted Stalin to reassess the situation, concluding that supporting Kim's plan was a manageable risk. China played a significant role before the war's outbreak. Kim Il-sung sought support not only from the Soviet Union but also from CCP leader Mao Zedong. While Mao was not directly involved in planning the war, he was fully aware of Kim's intention to unify Korea. Between 1949 and 1950, Kim made multiple visits to China to secure backing. Though Mao believed the timing was premature, he expressed willingness to assist Korea in the future. More crucially, between March and April 1950, China transferred 3 elite Korean ethnic divisions from the People's Liberation Army to North Korea, integrating them into the Korean People's Army, which became the backbone of Kim's invasion force. When the war broke out, the Korean People's Army advanced rapidly, capturing Seoul within 3 days and controlling over 95% of the peninsula within a month. South Korean forces were pushed back to the Pusan perimeter. These events demonstrate that North Korea held the initiative, contradicting the CCP's historical insinuations of a South Korean invasion, or American instigation. 2. America's response and UN intervention. The outbreak of the Korean War caught the United States off guard. On June 27, 1950, President Harry Truman ordered U.S. forces to support South Korea and dispatched the 7th Fleet to the Taiwan Strait, declaring the neutralization of the Taiwan Strait. This move was interpreted by the CCP as an invasion of Taiwan, but the reality was far different. Declassified U.S. documents reveal that the Truman administration's primary goal was to contain the spread of communism in Asia, not to attack China. The U.S. viewed the Soviet Union as the main threat, and the Korean War was designated a limited war. The 7th Fleet's mission was to prevent escalation between the two sides of the Taiwan Strait, blocking both a Chinese communist attack on Taiwan and military actions from Taiwan against the mainland. Truman even rejected a proposal from Chiang Kai-shek to send 33,000 troops to fight in Korea, aiming to avoid broadening the conflict. In July 1950, the United Nations Security Council passed a resolution to form a UN command to aid South Korea. U.S. Far East Commander General Douglas MacArthur was appointed as its commander. On September 15, UN forces landed at Incheon, reversing the tide of the war, swiftly recapturing Seoul, and advancing north across the 38th parallel. Though this move sparked controversy, the U.S. aimed to destroy North Korea's military capabilities, not to invade mainland China. MacArthur even optimistically declared that troops would be home by Christmas, signaling no intention of occupying or attacking China. 3. Mao's decision to intervene. A pledge of allegiance or strategic calculation. As UN forces approached the China-North Korea border, Mao Zedong faced a critical decision. On October 19, 1950, 260,000 Chinese People's Volunteers secretly crossed the Yalu River, officially entering the war. The CCP described this as defending the homeland and resisting aggression, but historians offer a different perspective. Shen Jiahua, an expert on China-Soviet relations, notes that Mao pushed for intervention despite opposition from key figures like Lin Biao, driven by deeper motives. In February 1950, the signing of the Sino-Soviet Treaty of Friendship, Alliance, and Mutual Assistance had led to a Soviet withdrawal from northeast China, straining Sino-Soviet ties. The Korean War became Mao's opportunity to prove his loyalty to Stalin. Shen argues that Mao saw intervention as a pledge of allegiance to secure Soviet trust and support, positioning China as a leader in Asian revolutionary movements. Moreover, Mao assessed that the U.S. was unlikely to escalate the war, emboldening his decision. Early in the conflict, Mao had proposed sending Chinese troops to Korea 3 times, even suggesting they wear Korean People's Army uniforms, but Stalin rejected these ideas. It was not until Kim Il-sung's defeat at Pyongyang that Stalin approved Chinese intervention, hinting that if China did not act, North Korea might establish a government in exile. On October 25, Chinese forces clashed with UN troops for the first time at Unsan, securing a victory. This date was designated as the anniversary of China's entry into the war. However, the cost of intervention was immense. China suffered far greater casualties than its adversaries and was labeled an aggressor by the international community. Conclusion. This concludes the first episode. We've uncovered the origins of the Korean War, China's role, and the complex motives behind Mao's decision to intervene. The war not only altered the fate of the Korean peninsula but also profoundly impacted China's international standing and domestic development. In the next episode, we'll delve into the costs China paid, the UN's designation of China as an aggressor, and how the war reshaped Asia's geopolitical landscape. Stay tuned.